Good evening, and welcome again to Release Your Wings. I'm Dan Bagley, and tonight I'll be interviewing once again Shireen Chada. Shireen, how are you this evening?
Wonderful, Dan. Thank you very much for asking.
Our topic tonight is personal responsibility. And I know a lot of people feel that personal responsibility is a lot like blame. You know, you're responsible. Is that how the Brahma Kumaris feel or not?
No, actually, I think they're opposites. When I think of responsibility, I think of freedom.
Ah, nice.
And the reason why I think of freedom is because when you take responsibility, you can actually experience freedom. It seems opposite. It seems not counterintuitive that that's possible, but actually that's what is possible. And I actually think that if you're blaming people, then you are actually not taking responsibility. If you're playing the blame game, then you're not taking responsibility.
Ah, so the very act of blaming someone else moves the locus of control from the person who can take care of it to the other person.
The other person. And I also feel that responsibility means power. That when I blame people, which is the opposite of responsibility, then I'm giving away my power. So, for example, if you say something to me and I blame you for me feeling bad that you said something to me, then I'm really giving you power. I'm giving my power away to you to make me feel bad. But if I take responsibility and say, no, what is it that I can do at this moment not to feel so bad? Then I actually experience freedom.
So Eleanor Roosevelt many years ago said, no one can make you feel inferior, I believe, without your permission. So she was saying, be responsible for your feelings, I would assume.
Yes, be responsible for your feelings. And I was also thinking that in personal responsibility, it's not just actions, yes, which is very, very important, that personal responsibility and actions are very important, but it's actually, it starts with our thoughts, our attitude, our intentions, and our vision. And our thoughts towards ourselves, towards other people, our attitude towards ourselves, other people, intention, and in the same way, our vision for myself and the vision for other people. And you were going to say something?
Well, I was thinking that being responsible for our thoughts, I really agree with that. But many people seem to go, I can't help what I think. I can't help what I feel, which is usually based on what they just thought. And that's such an interesting point. I'd like for you to think, to expand a little bit on responsible for our thoughts.
You know, what we need to understand is that everything has a vibration. It has, like, I have a vibration, all atoms, all electrons, this table has a vibration, my matter has a vibration, all of those have a vibration. And what BK's understanding is that even thoughts have a vibration, even attitude has a vibration, even intention has a vibration. And the only vibration that I can transform, to go back to your question about thoughts, is am I responsible for my thoughts, or can I change my thoughts, is the only vibration that I can actually change. The seed is my thought. Everything else actually changes according to my thoughts.
So I would guess that in maintaining some amount of focus with your thoughts, it's not so much as trying to push thoughts away as choosing things to focus on.
Yeah, right. Yes, you can't really, I mean, thoughts are hard to push away. I mean, you can push away, but you don't want to suppress yourself too. So transformation is something, I like the word transformation. Okay, I'm thinking this way, I'm getting upset about something, I transform it to something else. And I feel transformation of thought is very easy if there is an understanding of why and how to do it.
And elaborate on the why and the how.
Okay, let's say we take personal responsibility.
Yes.
Why should we have personal responsibility? Why should we be doing it? And if we understand that, then it's easier to generate thoughts in a way that I can take responsibility. And so I feel the why of personal responsibility is that I'm actually going to experience freedom, I'm going to experience strength, I'm going to experience power when I take personal responsibility. It's not going to make me feel weak. It's not going to make me feel, not get more attention. People seem to really blame other people because they get more attention, like playing the victim and all of that. But it's not going to do all of that. That is a misunderstanding. It's just very temporary things that happen if I don't take personal responsibility. But if I take personal responsibility in the long run, I'm actually going to be much better off. That's the why.
Absolutely.
And the how is that I have to realize that I am the mother, I am the creator, I am the parent of my thoughts, my words, my action, the three important things: thoughts, attitude, and vision. I am the parent. And as a parent, as a mother would take care of a child, I have to take care of these three. And when I take care and nurture them right, then they receive power and strength.
So on the thoughts, that means probably some amount of discipline on where not to spend your time thinking. In other words, if you're focused on negative things around you, on the television set or listening to the radio, that's probably going to be distracting to you to maintain the most positive of thoughts on other things.
Yeah. You know, we actually categorize thoughts. And we categorize thoughts as wasteful thinking, negative thinking, positive thinking, and necessary thinking. And so when even if it's a necessary thought, and it's necessary that I come and say hello to you and say a few things that I have to give you a message, but even if I do that, but if I think too much of a necessary thought, then it becomes a wasteful thought, and very soon it becomes a negative thought. And so too much thinking, actually, I feel, is much of the blues that we have, much of whatever is going on actually can be reduced by if we stop thinking so much.
Let me see if I can come up with a metaphor on that. So what it makes me think of, but not too much, what it makes me think of is like if we get stuck on something, if we start spinning our wheels and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, I've got to think my way out of it, then we'll get more stuck. But sometimes it's better
like
just to get calm and then do whatever reinforcement we need to move out of that thinking. Is that right?
Right. Because what happens is if we keep thinking about something all the time, then we are not keeping ourselves clean and clear. And if we want newness to happen, if we want progress in any way to happen, not just physical progress, but actually I should feel vibrant, I should feel energized. And for that to happen, I need to keep myself clean and clear. So if I'm thinking too much about something, then I'm not keeping myself clean and clear.
Got it. And so you just bog down in that concept.
Yes, you do bog down. And also what we have to, even if someone punches me, let's say, or an equivalent of a punch, in whatever way, verbally,
in words,
verbally punches me, that I have to realize that, of course, I step away and I don't let it happen again, but I have to realize that my thinking about it too much is harming me.
So I was speaking recently to someone who was worried about someone in his office had said something about him. He didn't get it from them, he got it from yet someone else. And he was saying to me, "You think I ought to go confront them?" I said, "I don't think so. I think just let it go. Possibly it wasn't true, but just, you're dwelling on it too much. If you heard it once, maybe unfortunate. If you keep playing it 20, 30, 40 times a day, it's hurting your ability to be a good coworker with it."
Right. It's like someone, even if they did say it, that they've just said it once and they've stabbed you once, and you keep taking the same knife and stabbing yourself 30
again
times.
and again, yeah.
And so, see, that is the personal responsibility I'm talking about. At that level, if I take responsibility and say, I need to experience freedom, I need to experience cleanliness, I need to experience clarity. If I take responsibility at thought level, at attitude level, and at vision level, everything around then changes. And it really does. Like my vision, not only for myself, but for the other person. I feel it's all paradigm. If someone says something to me and I go say something back to them, it's really all paradigm. In the new paradigm, if you want success, you have to think of something else.
Right.
You have to think of how you can change your vision for that person so that they won't come and do it to you again.
Right. I think it was Michael Korda in the book Power some time back said you need to accept a situation and then rise above it. And so, in a funny way, transcendence is the ultimate rising above it, because you've basically let go of whatever was tying you down, what was making you unhappy. No,
yeah.
You're letting go of the thought that was making you unhappy. Right. Which, by the way, the positive intention, I like that also, because sometimes people say, I've forgiven you, or I've let go of this, but I need one more hit at you, which is almost like, I haven't quite. Does that make any sense? In other words, getting even is never winning. Winning is probably letting go of the battle totally.
Right.
So if you try to get even with somebody in that and think, well, I'm just being responsible for myself, for my well-being, you might be harming yourself even more. I don't know, is that accurate or not?
Right. At this point, I want to talk about karma.
Okay.
And I feel personal responsibility and karma really go hand in hand.
Right.
And karma for me is when the interaction, karma actually in Sanskrit means action. And so the interactions I have, the intentions I have with people, they have to be my responsibility. I take responsibility for what's going on in my life, what's happened so far, and what's going to happen in the future. And so if someone's come at me and really, like the person was saying, punched me or said something about me, I have to understand karma. And actually, if I understand karma, it's easy to let that go. Because, some of the things about these thoughts and personal responsibility, they're actually very, very easy to do. If there is understanding, things are really easy to do. And that's true with consciousness, that's true with concepts like personal responsibility.
So let's come back to that person who said something awful to you or about you. Talk to me about your inside voice of what the karma discussion would be.
I would think that I am not an angel. I must have said some things bad or good about people, and it's coming back to me. That's one thing I would think. And the second thing is, if I perpetuate cycles I don't like, then I'm not going anywhere.
So
I'm going to be in this pit.
Exactly. So that's the ultimate personal responsibility. I'm not quite certain what I did, but I could likely have been complicit in this unhappiness that they're reading on me or handing to me. I like that.
And the third one, which I feel is equally important, is that if I say negative things about people who have said negative things about me, I feel in a way we invoke 10 times more negativity towards myself. And that's just karma, is because I'm being part of this cycle.
And I think psychology is pretty clear on that, because the moment we take a stand on something, we look for the reinforcing reasons for it. And so we will tend to filter out the good things. I mean, it's easy to talk to people who were in a great romantic relationship, and then it goes away, and suddenly they've got 100 reasons that they share with their friends why the other person was the scum of the earth.
Exactly.
And everybody agrees because they're being friends, but that's really avoiding the responsibility of it takes two to create good relationships and bad.
Right. And so in this thing about whether it's romantic relationships gone bad or any office relationships gone bad, I feel the personal responsibility, the most important personal responsibility I have to take is I shouldn't be looking at people's weaknesses.
Look at their strengths.
Look at their strengths, because only then will they look at my strengths. And only then will I know my power. If I'm looking at their weaknesses, I'm actually giving away my power.
And also, people will tend to live up or down to our expectations. And so perhaps in seeing them as they can be, as they really are beyond the situation, that is giving not only them, yourself more power, but it's giving them power to have a good relationship. So I'm guessing that personal responsibility, it doesn't spell this way, but it's kind of like being able to respond in a way that breaks the cycle of negativity.
Breaks the cycle of negativity. And in this way, is that when I have liberation, I have freedom.
Yeah.
And also that the most important thing I feel is that I'm the creator.
Right.
I'm the creator of my reality.
And once we accept that personal responsibility, life gets a lot more interesting. Good. Thank you. I've learned some things tonight. And I hope you've enjoyed it as well.